One of the key things Bansal sir told us, you have to study by a stopwatch.
You were also in the civil department in IIT Bombay. So, what was the coursework like?
My buddies had told me that if you're enjoying the case study process, you will most likely enjoy working in a consulting firm as well. So I ended up working in sectors such as automotive, transportation, fast fashion, gems and jewelry, working with the government of India in between India and Dubai. How does one actually go get an MBA abroad? I would say getting an MBA is not for everyone. There's obviously like a opportunity cost to it and some real cost to it as well.
So, what was the couple of things that you picked up from the professors that help you even today?
Wow, that's a great question.
Hi guys, thanks for tuning in and thanks for your massive support as well. The channel has grown a lot, and based on very good feedback that you have given me, I'm trying to show what value the viewers or listeners can get out of the video. So, who should be listening, right? First, students who are preparing for IIT JEE or any other competitive exams and are looking for a bit of motivation. This video and any other video that you find on my podcast will give you very actionable steps on how to prepare. Two, students who want to know about the IIT campus life and the different departments. What is the coursework like? How much is the pressure? You'll get to know all about it. Three, students in engineering colleges who are unsure about what career to follow, what decision to take. There are so many options available out there, right? It could be software, finance, consulting, even higher studies, research, MBA. So, what are the pros and cons of each? We'll try to break that down as well. And of course, number four, family and friends of the guests that come on the show. Maybe the videos will bring out a different side of them, which you may not have known before. I would like to also introduce the team which is creating these episodes. Here is me, the host. We have the director, we have the scriptwriter, we have the editor. We also have the producer and the sponsor. So yeah, all are me. So one way you can help me out is basically subscribing to the channel. One thing I've noticed in the analytics is 85% of the people who watch this show do not subscribe to it. So here's another reminder to go and click on the subscribe button and then we'll proceed with the show. So welcome back guys to the channel to IIT Podcast with Somenath, your host, and today I've got a very special guest again. She's the first person on this show to from IIT Bombay. Now you have done almost 23 episodes and mostly has been Kharagpur, my friends, and this is the first time I'm getting to interview someone from IIT Bombay, who is also a friend of the most popular video on this channel, which is Aditi and Somerik's one. She went to Harvard alongside them, apart from going to IIT Bombay. So very prestigious institutions on both sides of the US and India. And so yeah, welcoming to the show, Anushree Singh. Welcome.
Thanks for having me, Somenath. And thanks for
Yeah.
that amazing introduction.
Right, I have not even introduced fully. I got to know that you play the guitar, and people seeing the show might be able to recognize. You're also part of athletics. You were, part of the not
Yes.
baseball, basketball scene in IIT Bombay. Uh, you are also classical vocalist, from what I hear, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay,
Yes.
great. So we'll talk about all of that. Generally this podcast is divided into three sections, broadly, life before IIT, at IIT, and then beyond IIT. So in your case, beyond IIT is also Harvard. We'll talk about that as well. Starting off in the life before IIT section. So what was, your preparation like for IIT, and did you know about or when did you know about IITs, that these premier institutions of engineering mostly that exist, and your interest, how did it come about?
Yeah. Um, I think I'll have to go all the way back during my, school days. Um, I think fourth, fifth grade, that's around the time where I had this friend. She was a year younger than me. So I think I was in fifth, she was in fourth. And I didn't know what I wanted to do, like longer term. Maybe I wanted to become a doctor or my mom's a doctor, so I thought maybe that's something I want to do. She was very clear about it. She wanted to go to IIT, and from her, I heard for the first time that there is something like IIT in class five, um, and it sounded nice. So I was like, I want to do it too. I had no idea what it is, what it means. I generally, like liked maths. I was good at it. I liked physics, but I was also good at like other subjects. Not saying that I studied a lot. I did not. But I enjoyed specifically these subjects. So I go to my parents. We were back then in Udhampur, in JNK, and I tell them I want to get into, like, I want to go to IIT, and they were like, oh, okay. And I think they really took it upon themselves that, okay, the kid is coming to us and saying she wants to go to IIT, even though she doesn't know what it is. They, I think, found out about Kota from someone. Um, I didn't know back then what it was. And I think they basically helped me get into that path. They moved to Kota for my education. But this was a couple of years later. This was sometime around ninth class. Actually, 10th. In 10th, I moved to Kota, and I joined a tuition, which would help me get into another tuition, which would help me get into or crack IIT.
You said that you grew up in JNK, Udhampur. So moving from, assuming that it was not a very populated area, and then moving to Kota, it might have been a change of culture perception as well, because what Kota is filled, and at least that time it was hugely popular as well right now. And then even there's a wonderful series on Netflix called Kota Factory, in which our senior Jeetu Bhaiya is also there. So yeah, what was the culture change like, and what did you find the most difficult to deal with there?
Yeah. So I actually did not grow up in JNK. So my parents had a transferable job. So every 2 years we moved to a new city. So JNK was basically one of our 2 year or 3 year stint. But yeah, it was a small city. Udhampur was a small city. I did not know about a lot of these competitive exams. I finished my ninth grade and I moved to Kota, and that's where I realized that there was something called um, KVPY and I think NTSC. I didn't even know that these exams had happened and I was supposed to take them. There was no exposure. Um, I was just focused on my school and my own studies and just getting help from my teachers, and that was kind of about it. Moving to Kota was a very, very big shock for me in class 10th. The tuition that I joined, so I was going to school, and this was something I was doing outside of school. So I was part of like a full-time school program, unlike what you would hear in other Kota stories of like dummy school. This was a full-time school. After school, maybe 4 or 5 hours of this tuition, and I join in class 10th, and I see they're teaching class 12th syllabus because in class ninth, they already covered 11th, and in class eighth, they already covered 10th. So it was very, very difficult for me to get hold of what was going on, and realizing that I don't know everything anymore. Before that, even with like little amount of studies, I would top my class back in, Udhampur. Um, Here, it was not like that. I was suddenly completely thrown off. I did not know what was going on. I was doing badly in my exams. I didn't know what to study or how to study to get there. So it was very, very scary, those initial few days. You mentioned Kota Factory. Actually have not seen it. Even one of our seniors from IIT Bombay, Ranjan, he's in it. So I did see a few episodes just to see him acting in it. But I have not seen it. I would say I've sort of lived it, so did not want to, see it again.
And what was the IIT preparation like in Kota? You mentioned tuitions to get into tuitions, and guessing
Yeah.
the high level of competition that is prevalent there. So what was your preparation like? And you got almost 3 years to prepare it, class 10, 11, 12.
Yeah.
Yeah, what was
Yeah.
that like?
Yeah. So I found out back then Bansal classes was very prominent, big name. Bansal sir was there as well. I wanted to get into Bansals, and they only did class 11th and 12th. So when I moved in 10th, getting into Bansals was also very competitive, and getting into the top batch was something that people generally aspired for, because then you get you know teachers like Bansal sir to teach you. So that's what I wanted. And because of that, I joined this other classes in class 10th. Um, and like I said, very rigorous, super competitive. They were already studying, courses beyond their level. Um, I was introduced to this concept of DPP, like daily practice paper, which also Bansal sir invented, which I found out later. Uh, but my other tuition girl classes, they also did this. So they would give us these DPPs. I made it like my life goal, and that's what everybody did, was make sure you solve your DPP before you get into the class. So you're done with your school, you come back home, you try to solve these questions, you don't know how to do it, so you read up books, you go for your doubt classes, you ask your friends, you ask your teachers, but somehow you get through those um, difficult questions to be able to understand. And that's how that 1 year went, of class 10th. It was a struggle, but somehow at the end of it, I understood maybe like 5% of what was going on. Fortunately, in 11th, I was able to make it to Bansal classes. I did get into the top batch that I was aiming for. And it was two people, me and this other friend from this girl classes, who made it. And turns out that we already knew what they were going to teach in that 11th grade, because I didn't realize our previous coaching was that rigorous. But luckily, they had covered a lot of things. Um, Subject wise, preparation wise, um, so I was going to school, and I was in CBSE board. So whatever we were being taught at school, in physics, chemistry, maths, that I was doing already as per the school. But Bansal classes taught us s- syllabus beyond that. I think we ended up doing um, things which I actually ended up learning again in my IIT first year. But it's just the way that they had designed the course. They had their curriculum set across these three subjects. We had the DPPs, daily practice papers, every day, with hand-picked questions by these experienced teachers who were also IITians. Some of them were IITians themselves. Bansal sir himself, he's no more, unfortunately, but back then he was, he used to come and teach us, and he was incredible. Like, he taught us like we were his own kids, making sure that we understand everything, asking us to tell him if we don't get any of the concepts, giving us extra time after class. So it felt like home going to that coaching. One of the key things that Bansal sir told us was that you have to study by a stopwatch. So when I say it was rigorous, it was literally every single minute was measured by a stopwatch. Even if you're, like getting up to go to the bathroom, or taking a break to maybe talk to someone on phone, or even drinking water, you have to stop that stopwatch. Only turn it on if you're studying again. That was how I studied for the next 2 years. Um, we had also, and to give you a number, right? If I use that stopwatch at the end of the day, it had 9 hours or 7 to 9 hours on the stopwatch. But in reality, like how much time I was sitting thinking I was studying was actually maybe 14 to 15 hours. So you can imagine how much time leak that happens on these small activities that you don't even think that you think you're studying, but you're actually not. So that stopwatch helped me make sure that I'm studying the way I want to. The other thing that Sir also taught us was have these segments in your day. Uh, as in, if you have time to study, you study in that time. Sleep is extremely important. You have to sleep for 8 hours. That block does not move. If you have to eat, you eat in 1 hour, all, 3 meals or 2 meals. That includes your, if you want to like watch something TV or something, you do that while eating, so you save that time. And then and the most important, have this recreation time, which can be anything. It could be, like, for me, it was going for a run. I liked to go for a run back then, to just, refresh, but have that recreation time. So 24 hours in a day were fixed for me. 8 hours of sleep, certain number of hours for study, certain number of hours for recreation and food and just essentials like getting ready and commuting. I swore by it 2 years, as much as I could, stuck to it. And I think that discipline, that level of discipline, I think it was at the peak for me back then.
Guys, great case study and analytics as well. Whatever we think we might do, data shows something else. That you mentioned, the
Yeah.
stopwatch, the 14 to 15 hours, but actually distills down to 8 to 9 hours. Yeah, it is quite relevant today, because in our day, it the social media had not caught on that much, and we were most at the beginning stages of Facebook, YouTube, and those sort of things. There were not many distractions, but in today's world, everything is app-based, everything is AI-driven. There's a lot of distractions already. So, what are some of the advices that you can give? Would you, in today's world, still stick to that level of discipline, or would you be a little flexible?
Yeah. So back then, I did not have Facebook. I used to have Facebook. I deactivated it for duration of my prep. Um, and I was not on WhatsApp. These were like conscious decisions to stay off social media. In today's time, I would say, I think that is still relevant. And if you are, aiming for something very specific, if you have a goal very specific, you want to clear this exam, or you want to prepare for any other exam, you have a specific time frame in mind, I would say, human brain is still susceptible to distractions. The difficulty of the paper is not going down anytime soon. You have to have the same level of focus, which means you have to put an extra effort to remove those distractions. It was very hard, easier said than done, because I also had friends who were not preparing for JEE, who were preparing, or maybe they were into other fields. And they were my friends. I was meeting them, hanging out with them. They were on Facebook. They were also, like, it's not just social media, right? It's also how much time you're hanging out to do other activities, like, going to the mall, or, just hanging out with friends, or, playing some sport or whatever. Those are good things to have if it is planned in your recreation time. But how it happens with friends, you're sitting and you forget about the time and you just start talking, or so you have to be mindful of those things. So it's not just social media, it's anything which could creep up as a distraction. You have to be, I think, mindful if you want to achieve that goal that you've set for yourself.
So the important point is this video is both educational and recreational, so you can be flexible with watching this video. So that's good. Another question I had was, you finally come with the preparation of those 3 years in Kota, and then you come to the IIT exam day, right? So what was the exam day like? Was it nervous or was it excitement?
The exam date, I still remember, it was 2nd June 2013. Cannot forget that date ever. Um, I don't think I slept the night before. It was very, very difficult. Um, so my parents, my exam center was actually in Jaipur. So and back then we were living in Kota. I was staying actually with my mother back then. So she is in the army. She was staying with me. My dad was posted somewhere else. He was, I don't remember where he was back then, maybe in Assam. And he traveled, he took leave, and it's not easy to get leave, but he took leave. He came to Kota, and we all traveled together to Jaipur the day before my exam. And they really helped me take care of everything else, like logistics, food. It was hot in June in Jaipur, so I'm making sure I am hydrated, I am fed. They were taking care of everything, so I did not have that distraction. I only had to focus on my mental state and just controlling my nerves. But despite all of that, I was very nervous the day before and I could not sleep. And my dad told me this one thing, that nothing will change in the last one day. You have been working towards this goal for last 3 years. So trust yourself. You have put in the work. Um, Today is a day for relaxation. So just try to be yourself tomorrow on 2nd June. So that was one advice you gave me. I tried to sleep. I wouldn't say I had the best sleep. Day of exam, it's a long exam, right? You have 3 hours first paper, then I think you have 2 hours of break, and then you have 3 hours of second paper. 2013 was also the year that they had changed the format of JEE Advanced. It was the first time JEE Advanced was happening, means advanced that format. And they had not told what format of questions, so it could be a surprise. So we had mentally prepared for, like, during the coaching they had thrown all these different types of questions at us to be prepared for the unknown. So it was like, yeah, a little uncertain what to expect. And then, yeah, it was like pure focus. Like, you go into that exam center. I remember it was this one school. They had taken one of the classrooms, made it an exam center. You just go with your bottle of water, your pen, paper, your documents. You go sit in that desk, just wait for that paper. Don't think about anything. How the wind is, how hot it is, what noises. You just remove all of that distraction from your head and just focus on that one paper. Um, 3 hours, first paper happened. I I had this way of like segmenting my 3 hours between physics, chemistry, maths. My maths was very strong. Like, that is one thing I was confident that I will get. Physics was not strong, but I enjoyed it a lot. And chemistry was weak and not strong, and I did not enjoy it. So how I did it was, first go and start with maths, because I know ki I'm fresh in the paper. I will score the highest. Get done with maths, 1 hour done. Next 1 hour physics, um, because I enjoy physics. Now, do it a little bit. See, get the vibe of the paper. ठीक है, दिख रहा है questions आ रहे हैं, you solve as much as you can, um, and then move to chemistry. This was my strategy. I had practiced it in a lot of prior tests that we had in coaching, so I knew this was my plan. Stuck to it, and came out of the exam hall. 2 hours. My rule was not think about the paper. This is my time to refresh, because you have to work on your stamina, right? You have to sit again for 3 hours. So I went home, had my lunch, took a quick nap, um, could not sleep, but just lie down, rest your mind, rest your eyes, and then show up again for the next test. Next paper, similar strategy. Just tackle what comes at you, follow what you've already practiced in the last 3 years, and that's it. Um, I come out of my final exam, step out, and there is absolutely no clue what to do. Like, I had not thought what to do after this exam. Like, 3 years I was preparing for the exam. Not even once I thought what after. So I come out and I'm like, what? Now what? Now there's like so much free time. And constantly my head was going towards, oh, I need to study. Why am I wasting this time? Why am I talking to my parents? Why am I not in my room and studying? So it took some effort to break out of that mindset of, focus. And then, yeah, just wait to hear back on the results.
Talking about results, so what was the result day like? Again, it generally comes around a month later, right? And
Yeah.
when you prepared to, you already thought in your mind that you had cracked it, or was it there's still an element of surprise that could have come up?
Yeah. Um, so I think after I came home, maybe the next day, I looked at all the questions. Um, I think, well, I think somebody had shared an answer sheet or something online, or maybe the coaching did. So you could compare your answers, whether it was right or not. Or maybe some questions I had doubt and I resolved it at home and I knew what the correct answer was. So I had a rough estimate of what score I'm getting. And the score was, I would say, good. And I knew I will crack IIT. I didn't know I'll get IIT Bombay specifically, but I knew that I will make it. But also every year, it's not the fixed, the number of the marks are not fixed determining your rank. It's all relative. So I wasn't 100% sure that like it'll be a great rank or it'll be a very bad rank. I didn't know that, but I knew that it's just in the ballpark of doing okay, and I think I'll be fine. So when the results came out 1 month later, we were looking at it on the computer, and yeah, I got the marks which I had anticipated I will get. When I saw that rank, it was some 1600 something. It was just a big relief. Like I did not have any unusual reaction. I did not scream. I did not cry. I didn't do anything. It was just peace, like calm. That okay, it's there, it's done. So very underwhelming, but a very memorable day.
Yeah, actually, it's very nice to hear that as well. Some of the episodes people might remember, they got a very good rank, but they were disappointed because they wanted even higher, which shows that they were highly ambitious as well. But then the unpredictable nature of GE as well. So it is a mixed bag, but great to hear that you were
Yeah.
relieved. And then choosing IIT Bombay, right? Was that always in your mind, or did you make a conscious choice as to go only to the older IITs?
Yeah. Um, yeah, so like I said, I grew up in all over the country. Every 2 years, we would move to a new city. So I didn't really have ties to any specific city. So I was actually open to pretty much anything. But when we were doing our counseling, when we were like my parents and I, when we were selecting the IITs, I wanted to go to IIT Bombay very specifically. Um, and the reason was Bombay, the city. I had visited Bombay a couple of times before that. My grandparents actually lived there, and I love the city. It's just amazing. I'm also into music, so it's known for just the culture, music. So that Bollywood, like that's something that really fascinated me, and I just wanted to go and be part of that city. So I was actually open to any branch at IIT Bombay. But also I considered, like it's obviously not a sure shot that you'll get that college. So I was also going for older IITs. So in my preference order, it did have Delhi, Madras. So those were some of the other options that I was considering.
Great. So this was the live before IIT section. Moving on to live at IIT. So Anushree, do you remember the first day or the first impressions you had of IIT Bombay, which is also IIT Boy? So when you enter through the gate, do you feel a sense of achievement?
It was, I remember going there with my mom. I think this was sometime in, when was it? I think sometime in August. Um, or it was like really raining. It was raining a lot. And I don't think I had seen that side of Bombay. So we enter IIT. It was completely green and wet. So it was raining cats and dogs. Everyone is like, in chappals and shorts, struggling in the rain, but also there's a sense of excitement that, we are here. And yeah, I think it was just like a very serendipitous day, that something that you've been thinking about for so many years and you're here finally. I had this picture of IIT Bombay actually on one of my notebooks back in my Kota days. So this is something I used to see every day. The main building, it was something that I would see every day. I also had pictures of other IITs, by the way. So, but when I walked in, I saw that building on my right, and it was just like so nice to actually be there, to be walking. Um, in there. And the first day was obviously filled with a lot of orientations for newcomers. We were assigned our hostels. So you go in, you see your room, you meet your roommates, you see your mess where you're going to eat. So it was just getting oriented, getting to know this is your life for the next, few years. So yeah, it was good.
Your story reminds me kind of a show that we used to see on TV. It was called Shakalaka Boom Boom, I think.
Yeah.
Used to draw something on the paper and that would magically appear, in life size. And that is what I get a sense of, seeing that paper, manifesting it in certain ways, and then actually getting to, live the experience, if I could say so. So, yeah, great. The next question would be, what are the culture shocks? You talked about certain culture shocks in Kota. Uh, was Bombay a lot different? I'm assuming there's a lot of competition there as well, but how
Mhm.
was it different from what you had faced the last 3 years?
Yeah. So it was very different. I had studied so much before getting into IIT that when I got in, I was like, you know, I want to take some time to pursue my other hobbies. Yes, I will study, but I also want to bring back the other element of my life, which was on hold. I am into music, I'm into sports. And I wanted to make friends. I want to experience the IIT culture. And initial few weeks, they introduced us to a lot of different clubs within IIT. You name it, and they had everything. It was really wonderful to see. This is what's in store for us. And the first initial few days, I was like, okay, maybe I want to try painting. Maybe I want to try acting, filming. Like there's so many things. Stuff that I was never exposed to before. So it was very exciting. But then you also realize that you can't do everything. You only have so much time. And you naturally gravitate towards, what interests you the most. So I went towards music, I went towards sports. Um, and yeah, basically that. And then in terms of the culture shock, um, I actually met one of my seniors who was in the same coaching, and she was at IIT Bombay. She was, I think, in her second or third year. I met her in my first few months, and she told me that, hey, Anushree, up until the JEE prep days in your coaching, everyone is preparing for the same goal, which is cracking JEE. So it's okay to compare. You've compared yourself with your classmates. You've tried to be better than them or get a better grade, whatever, better rank. You're all working towards the same thing. But now that you're in this college, you've cracked it, everyone's paths will be different. People will pursue different hobbies, they'll pursue different career trajectories. So don't compare yourself anymore. You're all on different paths, you're all going to branch out. So find your own path. So I remember that very clearly. And it was very nice to hear that, okay, now you have space and you have the opportunity to, find out what else the college has to offer for you. So very yeah, I guess I got that guidance early. So that was good.
And your love for Mumbai, did it help with being in the campus, or like what was the other campus facilities? You talked about the clubs also there, and then what are the other things that ex can excite aspirants to go into IIT Bombay?
Yeah. Well, actually, I said I wanted to be in Bombay, but when I went there, we actually didn't get a lot of time to go outside of campus. We had Hiranandani, which was nice neighborhood right outside of IIT. So we went there sometimes. They have like beautiful shops and places to walk, but that wasn't something we did very often. So most of the life was on campus, and the campus itself is just like so beautiful. There's a lake right there. There's a hill. It's very green. The sports facilities are really amazing. And then I would say I think so. I was part of like some of the basketball team happened in second year, but I was part of the athletics team in my first year, and they have really good sports facilities. So I picked up shot put and discus throw. We had the girls team and the boys team. We would all train together, and it was incredible. Like couple of hours in the morning, then we would, as a team, go have breakfast, shower, go for the classes, then come back again, play in the evenings, and very focused on going for the inter IIT, which would happen sports tournament across all the IITs at the end of the year. So the teams would train for that, and I think this got getting introduced to this level of you know uh, community that you find through sports. So even today, a lot of my close friends are from that basketball team or the athletics teams. So that's been incredible. The other part of culture that I explored was music. I have been trained in classical music growing up as a child. But going into IIT, I joined the music club as a convener. I think that's a position you get in your first year. I think that was in second year. But we had these music events, Sur Bahar, Swar Sandhya, which are large scale events that, as the organizing team, you help execute. It would be a team of 100 musicians on campus, all students. You have to schedule band practices. You have to assign them different bands, different songs. They all practice for, let's say, a month together. And at the end of the day, we all meet in the convocation hall and then perform together. So, and then like the audiences, they're all your friends from college. But like just that experience of bringing people together, working towards that one big event, and then finally having this, big event at the end of the day. That is something which is really great. And of course, last but not the least, Mood Indigo is something which is big for IIT Bombay. There was this one year where Inter-IIT was in IIT Bombay in 2015. So that's when I was also, in Mood Indigo. I was like attending all these concerts and exploring the culture. So that was incredible.
Yeah, actually, Mood Indigo is what IIT Bombay is associated with a lot. A
Yeah.
lot of the different IITs, like in our case, IIT Kharagpur had Springfest, IIT Delhi has been Rendezvous, we call it. But Mood Indigo has always a special connection with all. Everybody wants to participate in all of these cultural fests, and they light up the campus like nothing else. I think people from all over, and the other colleges are also invited, and it may be 3 4 days, but it kind
Yeah.
of brings the campus to life in a way. So yeah, we used to also eagerly wait for 4 5 days during that early January or early February kind of date. Yeah, that was a very nice time. We covered the your extracurricular activities which you have participated a lot in. You were also in the civil department in IIT Bombay. So what was the coursework like? Was it rigorous, or you had time to explore anything else that you want?
Yeah. So, the civil courses were actually introduced to us only in our second year. The first year was these common courses, which were common across pretty much all the departments. So we used to have combined classes with other departments. We were doing courses like physics or maths, introductory courses. So only in second year we started having civil engineering specific courses. I would say the coursework was actually not very heavy. Um, it was intense, but I did hear from some of my friends in other departments like electrical or mechanical who probably had it worse off. So it was actually very easy to balance other activities with civil. I also did a minor in energy engineering as well, purely out of curiosity. So there was time to take up other courses beyond your own major. So first year civil courses, I think they're introducing you to basics of structural engineering, basics of, water, hydraulics, and then second year and third year, third and fourth year, you can also take up additional advanced courses. You can take up electives. So yeah, I got a chance to get like a basics of pretty much all the different civil engineering fields in the second year, and then third and fourth year I could take more of what I liked. So I really enjoyed structural engineering, and I ended up taking more of those advanced courses like bridge engineering and structural design electives in my third and fourth year. But I would also say that it wasn't just civil engineering. We also had other courses like which were also mandatory, introduction to electrical engineering, and then we also had uh, this optional humanities course between psychology, philosophy, sociology, and literature. So I ended up taking psychology. So I would say it was like a good mix. And within electives also, I ended up taking one music course because I enjoyed music. And then, of course, I did the whole energy engineering courses, couple of courses around renewable energy and designing energy systems. And yeah.
Wonderful to hear. So Bombay, as you said, civil. Uh, a lot of the toppers or the high rankers in JEE pick Bombay as their first choice. Of course, Bombay CS comes first, but anywhere in Bombay is pretty highly coveted. Uh, but what was the placement season like for you? So uh, is there a hierarchy as to how students get placed, with the different departments? And placement, when is the placement season for you? Is it still December like the other IITs? And how
Yeah.
what was your experience there?
Yeah. Um, so I would say precursor to placements is your internship season, which happens in your third year, summer of third year. And I think that is actually like a good way to try out something that you think you might like. So I ended up going in non-core. I did not pursue civil engineering as in my placements, but I did do civil engineering internships in my second year and then something similar in third year as well, as a way to see if this is something that I would actually enjoy doing or not. It also adds to your resume. So if that is indeed something you want to continue after college, it does help. But if not, it at least gives you a chance to try out something which you may or may not choose to pursue. Um, the placement season, yes, it is December. And basically in your final year, so the seventh semester, I did BTech, so seventh semester, but there's also like 5-year program. In your seventh semester is when the placement prep really starts. It is competitive. Is It's spread across multiple days. So day one, certain companies come, a lot of competition for those. Day two, day three, and so on and so forth. Between departments, it depends on the companies. So there are some companies which are open only for specific departments, especially like core engineering companies, right? So there, obviously, you have a restriction on what you can apply for and what you cannot. For civil engineering, unfortunately, there were not a lot of core companies hiring undergrads. I think back then there was a preference for masters or PhD students or people with work experience going into these core civil engineering companies. A lot of my classmates ended up pursuing higher studies, so they left for their masters. Abroad. Some of them ended up joining core roles as well. But after my internships, was clear that I wanted to pursue consulting. I wanted to, get into that field. And basically, from the start of the semester, the consulting preparation starts. You have to do case study preparations. You have to form, groups of two or three with other people who are also aiming for similar jobs, and then you prepare for your case studies. So you get like a couple of months, August, September, October, to do your consulting case preps, and then you apply to these companies based on your resume. And if you get a shortlist, you are assigned a buddy from these companies. So this buddy is someone who is likely a college senior, is already in these companies, and it's like a friend. They would help you with your case studies. So yeah, and then like a lot of these companies would come in on day one. So that's what a lot of like people would be aiming for. Um, and then yeah, basically then it's basically after that it's just the day of the interview, which is usually quite packed. So if you have multiple shortlists, you have to schedule your slots. Now you have to be mindful that companies are also trying to hire and fill up these roles quickly. So if you have a preference for certain company, you want to rank them higher, so you interview with them earlier in the day. But then that means that some interviews will probably happen later in the day. So there's always a risk of the company that you desire and whether you'll get it versus, the like risking putting a later slot for your interview. And I think in the end, you don't always get what sign up in terms of the slot. So there's always like a bit of a gamble there. But yeah, the day of the interview, it's quite busy. You go in, you're moved from one room to other, or if you're going across. We had it in like a high rise, so there were different floors as well. And each floor was sort of given to one company, so you have to like move from one floor to other, then come back for your second interview, then go back for your third interview and things like that. So yeah, that day can be pretty packed and pretty crazy.
Okay, and where were you finally placed? You had your interest in consulting, so how did you
Yeah.
go about it?
Yeah, I actually ended up joining a consulting firm. So I joined AT Kearney from campus itself. I was in their Bombay office.
Continue with the Bombay journey, but changing, chapters, which is the life after IIT. So yeah, what is consulting like, and what should one student be prepared for in the consulting life? Like, what are the day-to-day activities that you have to go through?
Yeah. So I actually got a pretty good flavor of what consulting is like during the case prep time itself. And that's what, a lot of like my buddies had told me that if you're enjoying the case study process, you will most likely enjoy working in a consulting firm as well. Um, but obviously, like once you join a company and then you are given a project, the experience is, it's more real, it's spread out across time. But what consulting for my day to day was there was a lot of travel. Monday to Thursday, I was basically out traveling on my client projects. It was only Friday and the weekend I would come back and live in Bombay. Work was actually segmented into different projects, which you would be staffed on. And these projects can be literally anything. It's not something that you would predict or anticipate, at least that early in your career as a fresh joiner. So I ended up working in sectors such as automotive, transportation, fashion, fast fashion, gems and jewelry, working with the government of India, in between India and Dubai. So that's where my travel and projects were. And yeah, depending on the customer you're working with, you're most likely going and meeting them in their office, visiting their site. You're probably working and sitting in their office and spending your day there. So based on what project you're working on, the experience can be very different. So I, on the automotive sector, like I used to go and work in the factory, in the steel factory itself. So the factory floor, you're seeing the shifts go on. There's a lot of noise, machinery, equipment going on, but you're going in, doing your interviews and you're collecting data, and then you're finding a quieter spot to do your analysis. Um, and then you're going and making presentations in the boardroom or whatever. And then similarly for the fashion industry, it was a completely different experience. It was in an office. They had like a ramp where fashion show was happening pretty much every other week. And then you go in, you talk to designers, you talk to buyers, you understand their problem statements. But like at the end of it, at the heart of it, it was more about identifying problems, figuring out the solution, analytical solution, usually like improving cost, improving efficiency, reducing time, things like that. And then making nice presentations, like really beautiful presentations, and then presenting it to, some of the clients too.
I can relate to the presenting part, having struggles generally with the editing. I'm doing the entire process by myself.
Yeah.
It's like presenting a story arc for the guest as well. So moving on, we'll talk a bit about your Harvard journey and the life after IIT section. A big portion of it is, you're deciding to go to Harvard, and then what was the process like, and why did you decide to go for it?
Yeah. So I decided that like maybe 2 or 3 years after IIT, when I was working, um, I was thinking about what next. Where do I want to go? What do I want to do in my life? Like broader, career trajectory. And there was this one thing which I really wanted to do was get education abroad. I wanted to experience what it's like to be outside of India, to be in US, and study here. So that's something that I wanted. And I think at that point, because I was in non-tech field, I was in consulting, the most, I guess the easier or most obvious path for me was getting an MBA versus doing like a master's in my civil engineering field, because that's something I had not really, worked or experienced in. So this was the only path for me basically at that point. Um, and I think around that time I was talking to some of my seniors, trying to see how does one actually go get an MBA abroad. And I found out that your work experience matters a lot. You need to have a story. You need to have intention for why you are getting an MBA. And I remembered, thinking about that if I'm applying to some of these business schools in US who really care about your work experience, maybe I need to go and get that work experience if I don't have it already. So after consulting, I switched jobs. I moved to Abbott, which is a pharma company, and I was working in their India office and also in Bombay. And that was a very intentional switch because as a consultant, you work with clients as a services company, but joining a company itself, you get to see the ins and outs of how the processes work internally. And I think that was actually pretty great for me. I got to work with an excellent mentor, a great team alongside, and but I always had this clarity that I'm doing this because I would like to go for an MBA at the end of 1 or 2 years. So the kind of projects that I worked on, I was very upfront about it in terms of discussing with my manager that I would like to work on this problem. This is the skill I would like to get to be able to justify that why I am growing in my career and why I should be selected for this MBA program. So it was actually a very intentional move. While I was at Abbott, I got exposure to some of my seniors who actually ended up joining Harvard, Wharton, Kellogg, and that's how I kind of got introduced to the idea of applying to these schools in US, preparing your application, going through the whole process again of giving an entrance exam, building your resume, doing interviews, and really like finding out, why I'm doing this. I think that was the heart of it, that you need to have your story straight, that why are you doing what you're doing? Why should you be the one going to MBA? I think just thinking through all of that. So it all began sometime around maybe 2 to 3 years after IIT.
And let's say a person who is thinking along the same lines, maybe they are in consulting or any other field, they want to do an MBA. What are the couple of things maybe they should keep in mind before they try to apply for the specifically Harvard?
Yeah, I think if you're someone who is thinking of applying, I would say first think about why you're doing it and how does it help you, right? Because I think I would say getting an MBA is not for everyone. It doesn't make sense for everyone. There's obviously like a opportunity cost to it and some real cost to it as well. So really think through why you're doing this, because it may not make sense for everyone. But if you're someone who's decided that you do want to go into a US business school, um, I think there's a lot of introspection that you need to do. And I'm lucky that this process forced me to do that, like to think about what is it that I want to do in life longer term, and then really putting down that in your application. Because a lot of like the admissions officers and business schools, they are experienced. They've interviewed a lot of candidates and they really know, if you're true to your story or if you mean what you're saying and where you're coming from. So I think spending that time thinking through your story, where have you come from? What is your past? What has inspired you? What would this MBA help you and how would you, give back? I think that's something that is very important to think through. That's the most critical step.
While doing the Aditi and Somenath's episode, they also went to Harvard. I think you might have met them there. The two words that they used to describe the campus was absolute perfection from everything that they do inside the campus, whether it's mowing the lawn or maybe just cleaning the blackboards.
One important thing that you pick up there is the level of perfection and detail that they put into anything and everything.
Impeccable perfection is the word that you would use to define. Like if you were to look at a lawn or a door, or even the way after a class the cleaner would come and clean the blackboard, there is zero error in the way the operations of the place operate.
Everything has to be perfect, right? So, what was your experience there? And you know, that is itself. Listening to it, it seems such a great difference in culture from what we have in India. What was your experience?
Yeah, I think between IIT and Harvard, it was a completely different culture. I think business school specifically is actually very different from, like an IIT undergrad experience. I would say it's more closer to a professional experience, like, professional setup than to college. But also at the same time, it is a college. the thing is with business school, a lot of people there would, the average age of the batch was 26 in our first year. So a lot of people had work experience. Some of them had families, they moved in with their kids. So I guess the mindset was very different. People were there to enhance their career, or, they'd already had this significant chunk of work experience, certain expertise in a field, and they were here for a very specific goal, which was individually, different for everyone, to get out of that 2 year experience. And hence, I would say it was very different from IIT, where, you're much younger, you're coming in with, a lot of hopes, a lot of, opportunities to go in whatever direction possible. At HPS, it's a little different. It's, you already have sort of this path in mind, and you're going there to get something very specific out of this experience. And I think yeah, I think the culture wise also, I think the diversity was like a big one for me. The Indian batch was, I would say, maybe 10% of the entire class at HPS. Internationals were, I want to say 60%, and then rest were domestic students. But we had, classmates from all across the world. And specifically, like experience wise, also, there were people who had come from a technical background, they were engineers, or they were startup founders, or they were consultants like myself. So I guess like it just felt very different than going to IIT, but also to Aditi Somrik's point, it was a very, very beautiful campus. Um, Amazing infrastructure. We had this, Spangler, which was like a common student lounge, open to all business school students. And that's just like a place where you can go sit, grab a coffee, um, study, or meet people, do your discussions, prepare your case studies. Um, Even that was like so spectacular. So tall glass windows, paintings on the wall, the carpets, the couches, everything. I think I would say the detail, there was a lot of detail in that. We also had this chapel, which was also like a choir, music sort of a place. So they had a grand piano in there. And it was a Steinway piano, which, to those who play would know that it's an exceptional piece of equipment. And not just the music hall, in fact, all the dormitories had a piano in all of them. So I think like things like this just blew my mind, that you know the level of detail in every single setup was really amazing. We also had in Spangler, which was a student lounge, food. There was a food buffet across 2 floors, and there were, I think, 6 or 7 different stations in parallel, each serving different type of cuisine. So there was separate station for salads, separate one for breakfast cereals, a different one for, live counter where they would make a new live dish every day, like, fresh noodles for you or fresh sandwiches. And then there was a buffet with Indian food, and sometimes it would be, American or whatever, like they would keep rolling it. And then on a different floor, there was a pizza space, and there was place for salads, and there was place for sushi. So I guess like it was just like really elaborate, really detailed, but also catering to a lot of different, tastes for the international students out there. So yeah, I think that was like very new, very different, uh, in a very good way.
Yeah, Aditi also mentioned that a lot of uh, the surroundings in Harvard has to do with how you would act in a boardroom, right? If you are, we are preparing you for a life in corporate, where even the professors, the way that they would dress, they would conduct themselves, it was very professional. At the same time, it was yeah, very enlightening for the kids as well, or the students as well. So, what was the couple of things that you picked up from the professors that help you even today?
Wow, that's a great question. I think every single class was so unique. I would equate it to, a conductor and an orchestra. So the professor was the conductor conducting the class, and then there was each class was typically like 90 to 100 students, and they were the real, individual musicians who were driving the class. So the professors didn't really teach, actually. Like, obviously they're experts in their field, but unlike back in IIT, where the professor is teaching you new concepts, they're writing on the board, they're giving you assignments and things like that, they're talking most of the class. This was not the case at HPS. The professor was directing you. So we had this thing, every class would start with a cold call, where the professor could call anyone potentially from the classroom. And so you obviously, like, everyone has to be prepared, and have an opinion on the question that the professor is about to ask. So you need to have obviously read the case, but also have your own opinion on top of it. Every single case study that we had was actually, I would say, it would end in a very neutral way, which means that whoever has read the case study, like all the 100 people in the class, everyone has read the case study, but everyone will arrive at different outcomes based on their experiences. So a typical case study would be like a real example, like Coca-Cola or Pepsi. They launch this new product line, which is healthy, but also cheaper, and they expand into new countries or not. Was this a good thing or not? Now, left you at a question. Every student will have, a different opinion based on their prior experience, their own values, and expressing yourself and backing your opinions with real data to be able to convince the remaining 99 people that why what you are saying is right and they should listen to you. So I think this was a skill we practiced in every single case study, every single class. Is if the spotlight is on you, based on your own values, your experience, you have to make a statement which will, basically drive the decision. So you say your statement, you get, roughly 60 seconds to make a point. So it has to be crisp. You cannot lose other people's attention. You have to be to the point. And that's all the time you get in one class. And then the professor moves on, they'll call someone else to build on your opinion. They'll be like, okay, Anushree said this is a good thing. Why do you think it's a good thing? So then they have to carry on. So everyone has to be aware, they have to be present. You're all invested in that one case study that the professor is directing. So I would say, yeah, I think it's a very good replica of what a boardroom discussion could be like, where all the board members probably come from very different backgrounds. They all have very different opinions or different experiences and values, but they all have to work together and make very strong, convincing points to make decisions together. So I would say, yeah, every single class really prepares you for that. Um, I think the professors are amazing too. They all have their own unique ways of teaching. But some of our professors, they actually invited the case protagonist themselves in the class. So for example, if you're discussing Pepsi, Indra Nooyi is most likely sitting in the class herself. And then the professors have this beautiful way of tying the whole case together and be like, okay, this is what you as a class decided. Let's hear from Indra Nooyi what she actually did. So this happened a lot. And sometimes they didn't even tell us that the protagonist is sitting in the class. So it was actually quite funny because, you're openly criticizing some of the decisions that the individual made, and they were sitting all the time in that room. So yeah.
So currently you are in Mountain View, California, right? And then uh, what is you are at a product manager or general manager at a,
Yeah. I do go-to-market strategy at a startup. Yeah.
okay, that's wonderful. What is the difference that you see? Let's say you worked both in India and US. You have studied both in India and US. What are the differences that you notice that makes working in US uh, versus working in India? What choice, if you had a choice, what would you pick?
Yeah. Um, yeah, I think I've been, lucky that way. I've seen both sides of, working in India, US. If I were to pick, and it's not that easy an answer because I'm here, recency bias or whatever you want to call it, I would pick working here. What I really value about working here is the work-life balance. I am someone who, enjoy studying or working, but I also really value, life outside of work, pursuing your hobbies, socializing, meeting your friends, working on your health. I feel that the work-life balance here is, at least in Bay Area, people are very particular about being outdoors, working out, being healthy. Like every weekend, we are, or actually sometimes during the week as well, you can go on hikes. Like over weekends, we meet up with friends and, we go to the nearest hike, which is like 10-15 minutes away. Even during the week, I would say, you can manage to go for like a workout class or just be outdoors. The weather is nice. I think that part is something that I really value. Having said that, I think in India that is also possible. Um, but I think it just tends to be a little bit harder. Um, I don't know, like my personal experience is that in India, it's normal to work late hours. When I was there, we would start maybe like 10 in the morning, and then it was very normal to work past midnight. But I guess here, um, generally, people start their day early. So 7 a.m., it's very normal for people to be in office, to be working. But most people just, stop and they're out and about past 6 or past 7. Um, so that's something that I really value, that ability. You can still do that in India. It's just not something
Okay.
which on an average is true.
Okay. Let me flip that question. So what are the things that you worked on and like in India, which you miss in US?
Yeah. Is that professional or personal?
Anything?
I would say, I think in India, there's a huge community factor. Like family is right there, your friends are right there. You want to go see your parents, you're able to, plan that trip. And, if you're not in the same city, it's still like easier to go and be part of your family and everything. That is definitely not the same in US. um Making a trip to India is not something you can just get up and do, right? Like it's a big investment. So I really miss that. I also feel that in India, in a professional setup, like when I was in Carney, even at Abbott, um like the colleagues also are your friends. I'm not saying if any of my current colleagues watch it, it's not like they're not my friends, but I think the work culture is such that you are closer even with your colleagues. So you're, probably hanging out, going to a bar or something after work, visiting each other's, homes, or it was like a common practice back then. Here, I would say there is a separation from personal professional life. So even though, like we attend our colleagues' baby showers or, engagement or wedding events and celebrations like that, but just showing up to their house on a weekday and be like, okay, let's just hang out. That's not something that is that common. Um, but yeah, I think community, close knit relationships, I think that's very different. It's I would say it's much better in India.
Okay. And some people mentioned even the availability of doctors in US versus India.
Yeah.
Yeah. You said that you are the do the go to market strategy for a startup in US. So, what is the day-to-day job like, and why should somebody be interested in a job like that? I'm hoping that's a lot to do with the broad level thinking of the company or the startup as well. So, what do you do generally day to day?
Yeah, yeah. So I work for an early stage startup. It's a Series B startup. Um, so even though like, go to market is something that I is like my job description, job title, I would say it's like you're wearing multiple hats. I am a startup operator, which means that you're doing whatever is necessary at the time for the company. My day to day is like it's literally being on ground, being completely hands on. It is an AI startup, so like being in the Bay Area, being in this industry, it's really quickly evolving. It's a software, like software as a service product. So a lot of our customers are other businesses, um, other medium businesses, and a lot of the work happens online. So I'm not really traveling as much. But it is looking at some of these, all like I would segment it from sales, finding the customers, other businesses who can be potential customers, reaching out to them, building a product demo for them. It's a very technical product, and the customer tends to be not so technical. So, bridging that gap so they understand what they're buying and they're paying for it. And then also managing the post-sales part of it. So once the customer is a paying customer, um, how do you make sure that the product is designed in such a way that it's serving their needs? If you need some new product features, you need to go build them. If you need to fix any bugs, you need to be able to do that. Now, it's a small company, it's a small team. A lot of these things, you have to do them yourself sometimes, which means that even though, like, I'm someone from a civil engineering business background, I would have to sometimes, fix bugs or get on sales calls and maybe do marketing or maybe do product. So I think in the last, few years that I've been in this role, I've actually done all of that. And that's like the fantastic part of working at a startup is that you actually get a great flavor of everything on ground. You identify there is a problem you need to fix, and then you fix it yourself. So you have to first teach yourself how to do it, and then you do it. So yeah, a lot of learning for sure.
Yeah, much like the different cuisines available at the lounge, right?
Yeah.
Right. So we'll go on to the rapid fire section, which is the fun part, and
Okay.
it's quick questions, quick answers. So yeah, favorite subject before IIT.
That's
Favorite professor in IIT.
Jay Ghosh,
What subject did he teach?
structural engineering. So yeah,
Was that
structural
your
design.
favorite course also in IIT, or was it any other course?
Favorite course? Yeah, I think structural design because of the professor.
Most enjoyable year at IIT.
Final year,
Most confusing year at IIT.
first year.
Okay. And what are some of the lingos that you learned from a Bombay campus that you use even today, or maybe some of your favorites which you have forgotten?
So, when you try to understand the concept and you're not getting it, but suddenly you get it. So there's like a light bulb that goes off. So chamka. So chamka is, something I still use. Um, what else? It's been a while. I think when you're talking to, your other classmates, it just comes naturally. Now you put me on a spot. Uh,
Anything Marathi that they speak in Bombay
Marathi.
campus?
Um, I don't think so. No, not a lot of. Yeah, actually didn't really pick up Marathi on campus. Um, Freshie, like freshie is what you call a first year, but also, when someone is new to the company or new to a group, and if you're talking to someone who also went to IIT Bombay, you're like, ye freshie hai. This is a freshie or something like that. I don't know. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that was kind of it with the episode. Yeah, it has been great talking to you, Anushree. So we did not know each other before you were recommended to me by Aditi. I'm so glad that you were able to come on to the show. Uh, we learned a lot about you, your life before IIT, from Udhampur to Kota to Bombay, and your journey and the struggles or overcoming the struggles. Then there as well, you joining multiple different extracurricular activities like sports and music, and making Bombay the city that it is, enjoying that culture as well. Then deciding to go into MBA and what that how that decision came to be, uh, what you wanted from it, and then going to Harvard, and then mixing with so many different types of people, and then carving out your own way across it as well. You're living in India and US, and the differences, things you like more about US, things that you miss about India, and all of that. So it was a great episode. Yeah, thank you again, Anushree, for joining.
Yeah, it was great speaking with you, Somna. Thank you for having me.
Yep. So yeah, this has been IT Podcast with Somnath signing off. But yeah, you can also watch other episodes. I'll link a few videos here as well. This is also available on Spotify. I'll link that in the description box as well. So yeah, signing off.